a zone entirely dedicated to underground arena fights. Tokugawa decides to hold a tournament where the greatest fighters from around the world will compete for the title of the strongest, and for a belt worth tens of millions of yen. In total, there were 32 main participants and 4 reserves. The fighters will be divided into 4 brackets, and the winners of each group will meet in the semifinals. There will be many fights, but I won't be able to show each one, so we will only focus on the matches of story-significant characters and skip the less important fighters. For this tournament, Baki decides to invite Kozue, and his first opponent will be Regan, a wrestler with immense strength, forcing him to hold back during his fights. However, Baki easily defeated him. After the victory, Kozue congratulates him and asks why he does it because, in her opinion, they are just injuring each other. To this, Baki replies that every man has at least once wanted to become the strongest. Many give up on this dream over time, but Baki, even if it seems foolish, wants to achieve it no matter what. The next fight in the first block will be between the kickboxing champion and the most charismatic Japanese wrestler, Igor Kanji. Igor started turning the fight into a show to gain the audience's support, and after a couple of throws, he wins. Now we move to the second block, where Katsumi Orochi, the adopted son of Doppo, will compete. He is called the perfect karate practitioner who brought karate to perfection. When he was only 5 years old, he performed in a circus, which is where Doppo noticed him. After one performance, a lion broke free and killed his father, but 5-year-old Katsumi managed to subdue it. After which Doppo decided to adopt the boy in order to raise and train him as his own son. The fighter who was supposed to face Kata in the first round did not appear in the ring, so one of the 4 substitute participants will fight instead, the son of Yashizaru, who came here to find and avenge Yujiro for his slain father. Since the difference in strength was too great, it is Atsumi who decides to fight the monster. At first, he easily knocks him out and then even decides to kill him, but the monster is saved from death by Baki, who attacks Orochi. They are about to fight, but Kata stops them, saying that if they win their matches, they will be able to settle their scores in the finals. The next to fight is Hanayama, who will be defending the honor of Street Fighters. Baki wanted to greet and support him, but the mafia boss responded that they are at war, and Hanayama will be up against all fighters who practice martial arts. His opponent will be Inagi, a representative of Japanese martial arts. He managed to strike Hanayama and even block his attack, but it was so strong that it broke his leg through the block, and when he tried to twist Hanayama's arm, he broke his own spine. After the victory, Inagi's coach decides to fight him to defend the honor of martial arts. But instead of fighting, Hanayama decides to check on his opponent and try to help him come to his senses. The next fight is between Roland Gustave and Katsumi Orochi. Roland can see through his opponents and dislocate any joint. He did this with Orochi's right arm, but Orochi set it back with one move, rendering Roland's main weapon useless against him. Despite Roland attempting the same technique Baki used against Koshu in the first season, the difference in strength was too great, leading Orochi to simply overpower him. Of course, Yujiro couldn't miss such an event, but by agreement with Tokugawa, he was forbidden to fight, so he came just to watch the matches. Yujiro recommends Tokugawa to add another fighter to the participants, Amanai Yu, whose strength lies in love. By knowing what his opponent wants, he also understands what the opponent desires least and which exact strikes they cannot expect. Next in the third block, Silva, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu master, will fight against Jack Hanma, a Canadian pit fighter. Before the match, Jack meets Kozue and mentions that her boyfriend, Baki, is an impressive young man. However, when Baki himself shows up, he immediately takes a fighting stance, ready to engage. But Jack had no intention of fighting him, he only expressed a desire to see Baki in the tournament finals. Baki himself was surprised at how he reacted to Jack, realizing that he was actually afraid of him. During the fight, it became clear that the difference in strength between Jack and Silva was so great that Jack defeated him with just a single blow. Some might think that Jack achieved such strength solely through training, but in reality, doping played a significant role in his success. Jack was a frail guy, yet he spent 12 hours in the gym hitting the punching bag without taking a break to eat or go to the bathroom. But even such training didn't give him the body he desired, so he turned to science. A scientist who once witnessed Yujiro taking down a polar bear with his bare hands wanted to create a substance capable of turning a human into a monster like Yujiro. However, his experiments were unsuccessful, and there was a risk that the substance could be deadly. Nonetheless, this did not stop Jack, and he began taking the doping diluted tenfold. With its help, he He easily broke all the records, but it wasn't enough for him. He told the scientist to give him the undiluted version, even though it might kill him. That's why he was nicknamed the man who gave up his future, and because the scientist created a monster, he decided to take his own life. I guess unless obvious tech lords. Before each fight, Jack takes doping, which reduces his lifespan each time. After Jack's victory, after Silva, Yujiro himself decides to fight Jack, but Baki intervenes, saying that Jack has no right to battle Yujiro. Yujiro gives Baki a good slap to keep him from interfering, but even after that, Jack refuses to fight him. He whispered something in his ear and left. This brought Yujiro great joy, and he said that Jack has as much right to fight him as Baki does, and why they are equal, we will find out a little later. Then the fights take place in the fourth block. Amanai, who got in on Yujiro's recommendation, faces off against Resari Mamoto, and Amanai begins to float in the air, kicking his opponent. A person whose strength lies in love beat his opponent with incredible cruelty, to the point where the referees had to stop the fight. After them, Doppo and Richard Field, a Chicago bouncer, will fight. Both fighters enter the ring in suits. Despite Richard's powerful hits, Doppo, being skilled in karate, delivers a precise finger strike that knocks Richard out. However, after his victory, Doppo helps his opponent regain consciousness and thanks him for the fight. The next fighter worth mentioning is the old man who has perfected Aikido. Many fighters had no idea what he was doing just, as he looked like a child compared to the others. But in his very first fight, where his opponent was a 2-meter-tall wrestler, he demonstrated his capabilities without any effort. Then, in the second block, Katsumi and Hanayama face off. Hanayama took the initiative from the start and could have quickly finished the fight, but he chose not to finish off his opponent and waited for him to get back on his feet. This happened several times, allowing Katsumi to regain composure and respond to Hanayama effectively. He used his solar plexus to push off and kick. Such a move is difficult to execute, demonstrating his skill yet again. He then delivered 4 strikes along the central line, but at that moment Hanayama caught his leg and tore his joints. However, Katsumi bandaged his leg and continued the fight. Hanayama almost won, but that gave Kotsume such motivation that he decided to deliver his signature supersonic strike. Katsumi was left to make the decisive strike, and Hanayama decided to take it on his back, where he had a tattoo dedicated to the person who had saved his life. Although Katsumi won, he was carried off the ring by 2 people, and he told his father that Hanayama could have knocked him out at least 3 times. Next to enter the ring are Jack and Misaki Gengo, who excels in traditional Shaolin Kenpo. He started landing up to 20 strikes per second on Jack, but at some point, unexpectedly, his hand started bleeding. The master then switched to kicking, but again, his limb began to bleed. The fight was stopped, and Jack was searched because everyone thought he had smuggled in a weapon, but Jack had nothing on him. Misaki bandaged his wounds and continued the fight, although due to blood loss, he felt dizzy and was about to lose consciousness. It turned out that Jack was inflicting these injuries with his teeth. He caught the master in a way that broke his hand, after which Jack easily knocked out his opponent's teeth and advanced to the next round. Kozo became very worried about Baki after such a performance. She begged him to withdraw from the tournament, to which Baki led her to his mother's grave. He told her the story of her death, and added that because of this, he must become stronger than his father by any means and avenge his mother's murder. That's why he wants to win this tournament so badly. Then Doppo and Amanai entered the ring. Amanai, just like in his first fight, starts hovering over his opponent, but Doppo was prepared for this and began to beat his opponent. And even though it seems that Doppo should be winning, neither his son nor the observers could imagine him as the victor. After many injuries, Amanai, as if on autopilot, began attacking Doppo very successfully. He managed to grab him and during the hold, broke his knee, but even then, Doppo got up and was preparing to continue the fight. Not wanting to kill his opponent, Amanai began begging Doppo first, then Tokugawa, to declare him the winner, because otherwise he would be forced to kill Doppo. To convince him otherwise, Doppo was about to strike him in the eyes, but he didn't have time to do it because Yujiro attacked Amanai, deeming him a pathetic weakling for not wanting to kill someone. Since Yujiro ruined the fight, he decided to make amends with a little show. He asked to have Doppo killed. Against him were supposed to be all the fighters who advanced to the next stage, but instead, the defeated ones came. Of course, they couldn't stand against him, and Yujiro defeated his opponents at their own game. As a boxing champion, he defeated opponents by boxing rules, and did the same with the sumo wrestler and other losers. When only Koreha was left against Yujiro, Kosho decided to stand up for him, and then the remaining fighters stood up for Kosho. Yujiro decided to kill them, but then a bullet hits him. Damn, I caught a bullet. Then he is caught in a net and sedated with tranquilizer darts, a dose enough to put a whale to sleep. And the winners in the Doppo and Amanai pair decided to favor Doppo, because the judges considered the last eye strike decisive, although he couldn't execute it due to Yujiro. After this performance, the fight is between Kosio and Goki. Since Kosio held back during his fight with his brother, he couldn't show all his techniques, so he decided to demonstrate them on the old man. With a broken hand, Kosio delivers such a blow to Goki that the thin bone behind the eye socket, was broken. But it turns out that Goki's eye was not real, so the old man still managed to defeat Kosio and advance to the next stage, which the following fighters have also reached. In the first round, Baki will face Igor, who tearfully begged him before the fight to relent and let him win, because winning this tournament is his dream. However, Baki said he has the same goal, so he will fight with all his strength. During the fight, Igor started landing strikes that Baki didn't even feel, but it turned out to be a bluff. When Baki thought he had already won, Igor hit him in the groin. During the entire fight, he acted dirty, and at one point, he even called out his lover, Irina, who looked exactly like Baki's mother. Baki understood it wasn't her but still lost concentration, which Igor took advantage of. When he caught Baki in his signature hold, Baki easily escaped, because there is a vast difference in flexibility between a wrestler and a fighter like Baki. Therefore, a hold considered incredible in wrestling was just a warm-up for Baki, and with a throw, Baki wins. After the match, Igor approaches him and thanks Baki, saying that in his 20-year career, this was his best fight, and he truly enjoyed it. The next fight will be between Katsumi and Kaio Retsu, a kung fu master. The name Kaio is only held by the strongest. At one point, Retsu was considered a poor student due to his fiery temper. Once, during a fight, he killed another student but felt no guilt about it. Even though the then Kaio did not want to pass on this name to Retsu, he had to, because someone whose recommendation could not be refused supported Retsu. During their fight, Katsumi assumed his perfect stance, and although it's considered a true art in the world of karate, Retsu stated that the level karate is at now was reached by Kung Fu 2000 years ago. He proved it by delivering just one non-contact strike. The difference in strength between them was too significant, so Kaio easily advanced further. Then Goki and Doppo step into the ring. In this battle of masters, Goki ultimately emerges victorious. Although for the first time during the fight, Goki truly feels fear. He is deeply afraid of Doppo, and therefore, after his victory, he expresses his respect to him. But as Goki heads to the stands, Doppo tells his opponent to deliver a finishing blow. However, Goki's respect outweighs his animosity, and he refrains from finishing off his opponent. After Doppo lost to Goki and his son lost to Kaio, Doppo decides to close his karate school because if he cannot become the strongest, then he simply cannot train others for this. Leave. In the end, the semifinals will feature these fighters. By this time, Yujiro comes to his senses and approaches Retsu. He teases the Kung Fu master and advises him not to look down on Baki because the blood of the Hanma family flows in his veins. When it is Baki's turn to fight Retsu, it turns out that Baki had already fought him thousands of times beforehand. He did this by imagining Retsu's strikes. This is called fighting with a shadow, and by watching all of Retsu's fights, Baki memorized all his moves, allowing him to battle him mentally. This is exactly how Baki sustained all these injuries. But these fights never concluded, as neither Baki nor his shadow emerged victorious. This was because Retsu had not yet shown all he was capable of. Kaio delivered a blow to Baki that sent him flying across the ring, but Baki wasn't significantly harmed. Thus, he asked Kaio not to hold back and to show everything a Kung Fu master could do. Retsu delivered powerful strikes to Baki, causing him to lose consciousness temporarily. However, it turned out that from such severe injuries, which posed a threat to life, Baki awakened the strength of Hanma. He assumes Yujiro's stance, traps his opponent in a hold, begins to twist his neck, and then delivers a decisive blow. Baki passed out. Baki won, but the arena was completely silent as no one expected such brutality. Fortunately for Retsu, he suffered nothing more than a bruise. After the fight, Yujiro approaches Baki and scolds him for showing mercy and not killing his opponent. The second semifinal will be a fight between Goki and Jack, but before the match, many masters couldn't restrain him, as if refusing to enter the arena. Understanding that this would probably be the toughest fight of his life, Goki hobbles to the arena entrance where the fight begins. But instead of fighting normally, Jack once again just tries to bite his opponent. First he basiasti con lingesh, overdendias. He bites his ankle, then bites his hand, to which Goki responds with a throw. Then he kneels down and prepares to defend. The master's entire strength lies in using the opponent's attack against themselves, and the harder the opponent hits, the stronger the master's response. But this technique has a weakness. If the opponent does not attack, the master has nothing to counter with. Jack takes advantage of this and once again bites Goki, then finishes off the old man with a kick. After the fight, Kuriha comes to Jack. He sees that due to doping, Jack's body is starting to break down, and if he doesn't withdraw from the final, he risks dying, as his body can only withstand one more fight. But Jack doesn't care about this, so they just leave, and thus Baki and Jack make it to the final. Before the match, Yujiro and Jack agree that if Jack wins the tournament, he can immediately fight Yujiro. When the fighters enter the ring, it's revealed that Hanma is Jack's real surname, meaning he and Baki are half-brothers. This is why Yujiro had stated that Jack has the same right to fight him as Baki does. Before the fight, instead of feeling any animosity, they show mutual respect. This fight will be between half-brothers whose father ruined their mother's lives, leading them both to set the goal of their lives to surpass Yujiro. They started fighting at incredible speeds, with sweat and tears flying across the arena, but it turned out that this battle with the fastest strikes was just a warm-up, and only now would Jack and Baki begin to fight with their full strength. Like a lion, Jack attacks Baki, trying to bite him, but when the fighter opens his mouth, his jaw becomes the most vulnerable spot, which allows Baki to seize the initiative. But when he caught him in the same hold he once used against his father, Jack felt a surge of strength and easily threw Baki off. Then, with the tears in his eyes, said he just couldn't let Baki win because of what Yujiro made his mother go through. After that, he began to fiercely attack Baki, but Baki had the exact same motivation and understood what Jack was feeling. He delivers Jack some heavy blows and then prepares to toss his brother over his shoulder, but Jack holds onto the board using his teeth. And then, he starts attacking Baki with his bites, and when he fails to bite him, it turns out that he has hit an artery with his bite. Considering how strongly the arm is bleeding, Baki has about 3 minutes before losing consciousness, or possibly dying, but despite this, he continues to fight. However, Jack's punches prove to be stronger, and he knocks him off his feet. Jack tried to finish off his brother, but Baki countered and performed a hold, and when Jack tried to bite him again, Baki severed his optic nerve using the Korsho technique. He then delivered consecutive sonic strikes learned from Katsumi, and subsequently broke Jack's arm using Igor's move. Due to blood loss, Baki has about 100 seconds left, but then Jack's body begins to break down. However, according to him, that's even better, and this form is perfect, just the one he intended to use to fight Yujiro. Jack lands a blow that breaks Baki's arm, then starts beating him with incredible force, leaving Baki to endure the blows from his older brother. Jack threw punch after punch at Baki until he noticed that Baki's back transformed into a demon, the same one found on Yujiro's back. Baki counterattacks and says he will now perform his final move, after which he will definitely fall, and if Jack can still stand when Baki executes it, victory will be his. Baki begins to choke him, and although Jack resisted until the end, his body couldn't withstand it, and he lost consciousness, signifying Baki's victory in this match and the tournament overall. Tokugawa brings the belt worth tens of millions of yen, but Baki doesn't have the strength to lift it. So Jack, who has regained consciousness, helps him, congratulating his brother and helping to raise the belt. After the defeat, Jack approaches Yujiro, but Yujiro starts mocking him for daring to come to him after losing to Baki. However, Jack still attacks his father, for which Yujiro beats him to the brink of death. The tournament ended, and Baki emerged victorious. He thought it was the end, but he still craved to fight. We'll find out what happens next in the third season, the video about which will be released maybe tomorrow. Don't forget to write in the comments what you think about this anime. We'll see you in the next video.